Our table topic competitor is Charles Thompson. Charles, come on. Gwinnett has suggested that I give you a topic, but Gwinnett would like to use the picture twice. So, there are 4 here. You have the option of determining which one you would like. Is that your final?
I guess so.
Charles Thompson, where in the world would you like to spend Thanksgiving? Where in the world would you like to spend Thanksgiving? Charles Thompson.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Where would I like to spend Thanksgiving? Well, if you knew my family, any way away from them. I've got a sister-in-law who doesn't like my mother. And my mother is loved by everybody in my family. My sister-in-law doesn't like my mother because everybody in my family loves my mother. My wife doesn't get along with my sister-in-law, but I've convinced her to love my mother. My grandfather loves everybody, but being 92 years old, who's not going to like him? What I really like is when I was growing up, my mother come from a big German Roman Catholic family. It was a huge celebration, and we were poor farm people. So that was the one day when all the crops come in, and actually my great-grandmother used to raise turkeys to sell at Thanksgiving time. So we had plenty of food on that day. And everybody got together, brought their friends and families, and we celebrated. And so my mother carried on with that tradition. Everybody had a place, and it was in the living room while she was cooking. And then when she had prepared everything, everybody was told to come in and eat. It wasn't any confusion about who was placing the dinner, who was sitting where, how we were going to sit, if it was going to be potluck or who was cooking. Everybody knew exactly what was going to happen. Well, now my mother has the smallest house in our family, and we have a lot larger family. And none of the women in my family that are of age now that can make dinners want to take on that responsibility. In fact, nobody thinks that the traditions are what they ought to be anymore. So it becomes very confusing to me. I'm a man, but I love to cook. And I used to help my mother make cornbread stuffing. In Oklahoma, you got to have cornbread stuffing. I'd mix it with my hands. I'd eat it off my fingertips, put it in the stove. Sometimes you got to put it in the turkey. Sometimes you have to, cook it by itself. But when we got to the house, everybody knew what time it was. Dinner was going to be. Everybody knew that you sat down and we all sat around the dinner. And now it's just so confusing that I don't even want to mess with it. I don't have kids of my own. And I wish that I could just go to Tahiti or Hawaii to have Thanksgiving.
I'm going to put the timer on the spot. What was the time for the speaker and for the table topic?
I forgot.
Oh, you should know the way of that. Okay, we'll waive that then. This time, Charles is going to do something somewhat different, and because I've never thought about doing it. How do you prepare for a table topic? Huh? No, I don't know. We'll tell Charles going to tell us, Charles.
But this is an interesting topic because I guess you really don't prepare, do you? I read a lot about a lot of different subjects, and I have a whole lot of opinions. A lot of people don't like to hear them. So it was really good for me to do table topics. But what was interesting doing the table topics contest last year is I had no idea why people were picking me to win. I was blessed. I was happy. But when I would do the speeches, I thought somebody else besides, for some reason, every time I spoke, I was the first speaker, so I actually got to hear everybody. And I always thought that there was somebody better than I was, and so that's one of the reasons I wanted to come today, to find out what you all think about speeches and why you pick things. I think the best thing you can say is speak clearly and have a thought process And take a second, and you notice that I take a second before I start. I think that my nerves and my adrenaline are pumping so fast that sometimes you just want to relax, calm down, take a breath. And I also think that moments of silence are good for speakers. It gets everybody kind of focused on what you're going to say. But then just have interesting things to talk about. And I was blessed with really good questions, I think, the things that we were spoke to. So that's really all.